Hey everyone, it's Lawrence here. In this video, my colleagues Sern and Jeanette had an intimate conversation with Michael from OSK Property to talk about their company's flagship development here in Melbourne, Australia. There's no editing, no rehearsal, just a simple conversation between BrandC and OSK. If you do find these videos useful, please like, share your thoughts in a comment, and do consider subscribing to our YouTube channel for more content. Before that being said, let's dive right into the conversation.
6502.
6502.
Beautiful.
Beautiful,
65th
amazing.
floor.
Yeah.
Blessed with a nice day.
Yeah, very lucky. So Michael, given that we are in the center of it all, in South Bank, tell me a bit more about the location here.
So we're just literally a couple of hundred metres walk to sort of the major arts precinct in the arts area for South Bank. The beauty of this location is that you really don't need to have a vehicle. I mean, you can see most of the major landmarks. If you look out the window, you can see the MCG, the 89 Sports Precinct. You've got South Yarra, which is just 2 kilometres or so as the crow flies away. And just behind me, you've got the Albert Park Lake and of course Port Phillip Bay. So literally every major, I guess, social activity that you want to do in Melbourne, you're probably going to be able to do on foot, or you can take a short tram to get there. Yeah. And what we can't see from here is just to the north, you've got the Yarra River, the Crown Entertainment Complex and the CBD. And that's around about a 5 to 10 minute walk away, depending on how many lights you have to stop at before you get there. And to get there, you don't have to walk. If it's hot weather or it's raining or it's really miserable, you can just take a tram from literally just around the corner. So the Sturt Street tram stops just outside. That'll take you directly through the CBD, all the way up to Melbourne University and beyond. It'll also go past RMIT Uni.
Yep.
Going west from this site, you've got the Queensbridge Street tram as well. Yep. That'll take you up through Russell Street, right up past the Queen Victoria Market. So really there's no need, if you didn't want to have a vehicle, there'd be absolutely no need to have a car here. You can do literally everything on foot.
Yeah.
Right. And from the angle of family, right? Have kids and all.
Yep.
Any school nearby here?
We've got the childcare is within stage 1, so you've got that there already for up to primary school age. Then you've got the South Bank Primary School that opened around about 3 years ago, and that's about a 5-minute drive away, just down City Road. So that again is accessible on foot if you're happy to walk 20-25 minutes, or you can just very short commute away to get to that school. Albert Park, Middle Park, Port Melbourne, they all have their own primary schools as well. So you can go to any one of those, they're not zoned. If it's higher education, Melbourne High, Melbourne Grammar, they're all sort of in that South Yarra precinct, just to our east, and they're accessible by the tram as well. Okay. And of course the universities are all city-based campuses.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And actually we shouldn't forget about the Victorian College of the Arts, so that's in South Bank. Yes. That's Australia's leading film and music and performing arts educational facility, and that's literally within a 7 or 8 minute walk of where we are as well.
Yeah, very close.
Just right there,
yeah. You can sort of see where we're sitting.
Yeah.
So I think that certainly appeals to families, young families, or even if they've got kids going to uni, it's just so convenient.
Yep.
How about in terms of entertainment, lifestyle? What's around here?
Well, again, Melbourne was voted the most livable city in the world for 7 straight years. So between 2011 and 2018, it was voted the most livable city in the world. That wasn't voted on by a bunch of Melburnians sitting in their own city in their own room, voting on their own city. That was an international rating agency voted on that, and Melbourne comes out on top across a whole bunch of categories. So there's no shortage of events in Melbourne. I mean, the International Comedy Festival, the International Wine Festival. 2 weeks ago we had the International Beer Tasting Festival in Melbourne, which was the first time this year since COVID. The Formula 1 Grand Prix, the the Melbourne Cup horse races, the Australian Open tennis. Every major national sporting event that's held in Australia is held in Melbourne. Even if Brisbane were to play against Sydney in our football grand final, they play the grand final in Melbourne. So Melbourne's deemed the best place to host an international sporting event because it's got a wide variety of hotels, it's got a great public transport network around the city, and it gets people where they need to be in a timely and efficient manner. You certainly wouldn't host a major event like that, for example, in Adelaide or in Canberra or in Darwin, or probably not even in Perth. Even though they're nice cities, they just haven't got the supporting infrastructure that we have in Melbourne. So I guess what's there to do? There's a whole list of what's to do in Melbourne.
Certainly. And like what you say, like you touched on the F1, that will be held just there in Albert Park, I believe.
Yep, around the Albert Park Lake. Correct?
Yeah, and if Australia opened, we can see even this, the Vodafone Arena, is that?
Yep, Vodafone Arena and Melbourne Park, which is just a kilometre and a half or so from us.
Yeah.
And of course the MCG, which is the big stadium there, that's the 1956 Olympic Stadium. And of course that one that's over here, that was designed by Cox Architecture. It's the Amy Park that looks like the soccer ball pattern.
Yeah.
The same architects that designed that building also designed Melbourne Square as well. So they're an Australian leading architectural firm, and they were involved from day one with the Melbourne Square development.
Wow.
That's the Shrine of Remembrance where the Botanical Garden is.
Yes, correct. Shrine of Remembrance. Yep, Government House is just in the middle as well.
Yep. And you can see all these greeneries here. Beautiful.
Beautiful.
Well, Melbourne's known as the Garden State. A lot of our license plates still have the Garden State on there.
Yeah.
So it was known as the Garden State because it's got gardens.
And fresh air.
And there's an abundance of it. Yep.
Absolutely. Back to this complex, I remember walking past Woolworth.
Yep.
Literally, we can just hop off the tram after work and just get our groceries and come back up and cook.
Yep. It certainly provides that hassle-free lifestyle where you don't need to, if you've forgotten something or you've come home and you've forgotten the sauce for your pasta, it's not going to be a big deal to have to all of a sudden go back downstairs and get it. Whereas if you live, even if you live a 10-minute walk away or a 5-minute drive away, that becomes a hassle.
It's a hassle.
And more of us these days, like it or not, we're working longer hours. Both partners are often working these days. So we have less time with our families than we'd probably like. So having a really connected development with shopping, childcare, public transport, and perhaps where you work, if you work in the city or South Bank, it just means you can cut out a lot of commuting time and spend more time with your family.
More time with the family, absolutely.
Absolutely, yep.
Yeah. And the other thing is, we're talking about, when I walked in, it's really the wow factor. Could you take us through the quality and design, the craftsmanship that goes behind this complex, this project?
Yep, so the company only uses top tier builders. So this particular stage one was designed by Cox Architecture, which is a leading architectural firm in Australia and internationally. They actually designed the Beijing National Maritime Museum as well, which was a very hotly contested project, and they also won that. So we selected them to build or to design the residences here at Melbourne Square. On top of that, we also use car interiors to help with the colour palettes within all the apartments to make sure that they're conducive to the different sort of specs that people put in and what sort of furniture and decors people will put into their units. So they're all earthy, light earthy tones that sort of go with most decors. So they're two leading, I guess that's what we sort of market, that they're two very leading architectural and interior design firms. On top of that, the common spaces were designed by TCL, which is a leading landscape and gardening firm. They were also brought on board to make sure that our common areas are landscaped in a way that's, I guess, very appealing as well. For the new development, we'll have Zen gardens outside, so they were brought in primarily for that Zen garden aspect to make sure that the place is providing a calming environment.
Can't wait to see the real thing.
And on top of that, then all the fittings we put in, it's all German-made appliances. So whether it's Miele or Bosch or Gaggenau, they're all top high-end appliances. All the windows here, I don't know if you can hear outside, but I can't hear much outside at all. And there are some pretty major freeways or road networks nearby, but you can't hear a thing in here. All windows to all apartments are double glazed, so they provide good thermal and acoustic qualities. You certainly shouldn't be hearing things like people talking next door or moving around. The company goes to great lengths to make sure that they're quiet places to live in.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
The other thing that I was looking at is besides the amenities, if you were to choose one, what would be the standout feature comparing Melbourne Square to other development in the area?
Uh,
That's a tough one.
Yeah, I'll probably say, I mean, there's so many facilities in the building.
Yeah.
We've got a couple of mahjong rooms. We've got a dozen private dining rooms that you can hire. There's a sauna. There's a couple of fully fitted gymnasiums. So it's really hard to put your finger on one.
Yep.
But I think the extension of the sort of the common lounges, for me personally, if I've got a group of people coming over, or I'm having a children's birthday party, and you may stay in a one-bedroom apartment, for example, it used to be very difficult to host that in your property if you have 10, 15, 20 people coming around. So being able to use those common facilities, I think, extends your living space to beyond your apartment zone, and you can utilise those areas. And they're very easy to book. You just book them through the building's app. They're free of charge, of course, part of your maintenance in the building, and you can use those whenever you need to. But still, I reckon the most important, or for me, the most convenient amenity would be the Woolworths downstairs.
Absolutely, that's what I was.
So yeah, that's a two-storey full-service Woolworths. I don't want to have to lug back heavy shopping and walk home, even if it's 500 metres, but you do that with all your milk and your water and your juices and things that weigh a bit. It becomes a little bit inconvenient. So having that literally downstairs is just, I think, an amazing amenity here.
Yes.
Furthermore, like I think there's other shops as well. I saw like there's a
we've
cafe.
got an Asian grocer that's just opened up, so it's catering towards that sort of market as well. There's a new Malaysian restaurant opening underneath West Tower. So we've got that one as well. We've got a coffee shop down below this building also that serves sort of brunch and simple bites, but also very good coffee. A BWS, if you enjoy a drink as well. So if you want a beer or a wine, you've got that downstairs also. But keep in mind, as the precinct develops further, we're going to have 3 or 4 more commercial premises beneath each building that comes up.
Yes.
So eventually you're going to have upwards of 25 to 30 commercial residences downstairs, and they might be cafes, restaurants, things that you can use here.
Yeah, definitely. Of course.
So you won't need to necessarily walk out to the Yarra River, which is only a 10-minute walk away.
Yeah.
And if you want to explore further, you can literally just walk along the South Bank Promenade, and you've got a lot of high-end restaurants and high-end shopping as part of that Crown complex as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
I already love what I see. I mean, at the moment it's already enough
Yep.
for me.
It'll only
with
improve.
2 kids, I've got Woolworth, I've got Asian grocery, get my sambal and stuff like that.
Yep.
I'm done.
Absolutely.
I'm already okay.
You don't even need to leave the building.
No, I don't have
Everything's
to.
here already.
Everything is like all set.
Yep.
Yeah. And one more thing, as we walk inside towards this development, I see really beautiful greenery, landscape, and people walking their dogs, and maybe you want to further elaborate what's in store.
So because we're so close to the arts precinct, they've really had a focus on green and bringing more parks and gardens into South Bank. The CBD typically has the reputation of being a concrete jungle. There's very little greenery. I don't know of any park in the CBD grid. The only small pocket park is outside the National Library, and that's right at the top of Swanston Street. Otherwise, there's literally nothing in the CBD that has a space where you can sit under a tree.
Yeah.
So here, because we are so close to the Botanic Gardens, they want to filter that garden precinct into South Bank. They've already spent upwards of $500 million, I think, in just greening up South Bank Boulevard, which is the main arterial from the gardens into South Bank. They're continuing that along City Road, so they're going to be replanting and re-landscaping City Road as well to make it greener. And where we are on Kavanagh Street, that already had a tree-lined street even before we started. It was a very different road to sort of City Road. Kavanagh Street was already tree-lined, and with our park in front, that's just unheard of for a developer to allocate in excess of 6,000 square metres to public amenity. If you think about it, the site's 20-odd thousand square metres. We're allocating almost 30% of that to green spaces. So again, the park in front now is around 3,800 square metres, and that'll be extended as we go forward. But that's a major amenity for us. You just don't get a pocket park of that size. In a city area.
So thanks for watching part 1. Stay tuned for part 2 in the next video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. See you there.